Welcome back, gearheads. Japan didn't build coupes that bragged with loud paint or chrome. They wore simple lines, quiet badges, but press the throttle, and suddenly you're dealing with monsters in disguise. From forgotten Nissans to underrated Hondas and even luxury rotaries, these cars prove that looks can deceive. And wait until you see the base model that could shred supercars. Let's dive in. Number 12. Toyota Soarer Z30. A car with the curves of a luxury coupe, the comfort of a lounge chair, and the quietness of a library. At first glance, it looked like something built for executives cruising home after work. Soft suspension, plush leather, wood trim. Nothing about it screamed menace. And yet, beneath the calm surface, it carried the DNA of a street predator. The Toyota Soarer Z30 arrived in the early 90s, sold overseas as the Lexus SC. Most saw it as Toyota's answer to Mercedes and Jaguar, but in Japan, things got interesting. Under the long hood, buyers could option engines like the 1JZG-TE twin-turbo inline-six. Suddenly, this luxury coupe wasn't just sipping champagne, it was running the quarter mile in the 14 seconds. With 280 horsepower, 268 pound-feet of torque, and the potential for a manual swap, it had no problem embarrassing cars that looked far more aggressive. 0 to 60, just under 6 seconds, impressive for something weighing nearly 3,600 pounds. It wasn't perfect. Some trims felt sluggish, and the car leaned more toward comfort than sport. But that was the disguise. The Soarer could be a lazy cruiser or a twin-turbo monster waiting to spool. With Supra blood in its veins, the chassis could handle serious power. Tuners pushed these past 600 horsepower without breaking a sweat. A boulevard cruiser, maybe, but line up against the wrong Soarer, and you'd quickly learn it was no retirement car. And if Toyota's Wolf wore a tailored suit, Honda's next entry proved even a pretty boy daily driver could bite back, the Prelude. Number 11. Honda Prelude 4th and 5th generation. This was a coupe for the stylish commuter. The kind of car you'd expect to see outside a cafe, not carving up a mountain pass. Sleek lines, pop-up headlights on the 4th gen, and a refined cabin made it look more like a date-night cruiser than a street weapon. But Honda had other plans. The Honda Prelude, especially the 4th and 5th gens of the 90s, was proof Honda could build a sports coupe with brains and brawn. Its crown jewel was the H22A VTEC engine, a 2.2-liter four-cylinder revving to 7,200 RPM with 197 horsepower and 156 pound-feet of torque. In a car weighing just over 2,800 pounds, those numbers hit hard. 0 to 60 landed around 7 seconds, and when VTEC kicked in, drivers felt every bit of it. But the Prelude wasn't just about power. Select trims featured four-wheel steering, letting the rear wheels turn slightly for sharper handling, a futuristic trick wrapped in an everyday shell. It had flaws: steep insurance costs, back seats better suited for bags than people, and less straight-line punch than some turbocharged JDM rivals. Still, on a back road or track, the Prelude could humble cars with twice the power. Due to its balanced chassis and high-revving motor, tuners saw endless potential. Properly built, it morphed from daily driver to track menace. A pretty face? Sure, but underestimate a Prelude, and you'd find your pride disappearing in its taillights. And if Honda's smooth assassin surprised you, Nissan's next coupe takes forgotten to another level. The Silvia S12. Number 10. Nissan Silvia S12. It looked like a relic with boxy lines, sharp angles, and proportions that screamed 80s commuter more than street machines. Most dismissed it as another coupe trying to look sporty without ever earning it. But beneath that squared-off shell sat the start of a story that would shape Nissan's performance legacy. Built from 1983 to 1988, the Nissan Silvia S12 was the forgotten link in the Silvia bloodline. While the later S13 and S14 became drift icons, The S12 quietly laid the groundwork. Depending on market, it carried engines from humble 1.8-liter 4s to the CA18DET turbo and even a VG30E V6. In turbo form, it made 135 to 175 horsepower and 166 pound-feet of torque, good for mid-8-second runs to 60. Not blistering, but in the mid-80s it held its own against sluggish rivals. What made the S12 special wasn't stock performance, it was potential. Its lightweight chassis and rear-wheel drive layout turned it into a tuner's playground. Swap in an SR20DET or an FJ20, and suddenly this grandpa's coupe could shred tires like a modern drift car. And thanks to its obscurity, it stayed off the radar, even among enthusiasts. Of course, it had flaws. Stock power was modest, the styling aged fast, and refinement lagged behind what came after. But that's what made it a sleeper. No one gave it a second glance until it laid rubber across the pavement. Forgotten, underestimated, but undeniably important, the Silvia S12 proved that looks deceive. And if Nissan's boxy coupe hit its claws, the next car wore curves proudly while hiding a rotary surprise, the Mazda RX8. Number 9. Chevrolet Beretta GTZ. When you first looked at this car, it looked like a sleek four-seater coupe trying to cash in on the RX-7's legacy without truly earning it. With its rear-hinged half doors and curvy styling, most people pegged it as a quirky daily driver for someone who just wanted something different. Not exactly the image of a street monster, but under that hood sat an engine unlike anything else on the road, a rotary heart that refused to play by the rules. The Mazda RX8, launched in 2003, carried the Renesis 13 BMSP rotary. Instead of pistons, it used spinning rotors to generate its power, and when wound up, it delivered a unique punch. Early high-output trims pushed out 247 horsepower and 159 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 6-speed manual. On paper, those torque numbers looked underwhelming, but the way this car screamed to 9,000 RPM turned every straightaway into a thrill ride. 0 to 60 came in at about 6.2 seconds, and while not the quickest off the line, its near-perfect balance and razor handling made it devastating in the corners. But here's the catch: rotaries came with baggage. The RX-8 developed a reputation for poor reliability, high oil consumption, and flooding issues when mistreated. Many owners drove it like a normal piston car, and the result was disaster. That stigma kept it underrated and undervalued. For those who understood the rotary, though, the RX-8 was a blank canvas. Lightweight, balanced, and begging for boost, it became a predator hiding in plain sight. And if Mazda's oddball coupe thrived on rev-happy madness, the next car shows how a tiny V6 with futuristic tech could turn a stylish commuter into a shockingly quick surprise, the Mitsubishi FTO GPX. If you've been enjoying these hidden gems, don't miss what's coming next. Hit subscribe so you don't get left behind. We're just getting warmed up. Number 8, Mitsubishi FTO GPX. It looked like a toy next to the heavy hitters of the 90s. A compact coupe with smooth curves and a smile-like front end. Most dismissed it as a stylish runabout for young drivers who cared more about looks than speed. But beneath that cheerful exterior was an engine that could scream into sports car territory. Launched in 1994, the Japan-only Mitsubishi FTO GPX hid one of the era's most exciting power plants. Under the hood sat a 2.0-liter V6 with Mitsubishi's MIVEC variable valve timing system, their answer to Honda's VTEC. It produced 197 horsepower and 147 pound-feet of torque, modest on paper, but at just 2,600 pounds, the FTO hit 0 to 60 in 6.7 seconds. When MIVEC kicked in, it delivered a high-revving punch that caught rivals off guard, backed by an exhaust note that made it feel like a baby exotic. The FTO wasn't just quick, it was agile. With a finely tuned chassis and sharp steering, it became a back-road weapon, capable of embarrassing heavier, more powerful cars in the corners. No wonder it won Japan's Car of the Year in 1994, the first Mitsubishi to claim the title. It wasn't perfect. The cramped cabin and weak practicality kept it niche, and outside Japan it was nearly impossible to buy until gray market imports trickled into Europe. That rarity kept it overlooked, making it the ultimate underdog coupe. So here's the real question. Does the FTO deserve more recognition as one of the 90s best-kept secrets? Drop a comment and let me know. Small, stylish, underestimated, the FTO GPX proved big thrills could come in compact packages. And while Mitsubishi's gem thrived on agility, Nissan's next entry was a different kind of sleeper, the Cefiro A31. Number 7, Nissan Cefiro A31. Coupe-like sedan DNA. Now this one was the kind of car a middle manager would drive home after work. 4 doors, upright stance, unassuming lines. Hardly the sort of machine you'd expect to light up a set of tires. But that was the trick. What looked like a family cruiser turned out to be one of Nissan's most versatile sleeper platforms. The Nissan Cefiro A31, introduced in 1988, shared its bones with legends like the Skyline R32 and Laurel. Buyers could spec engines ranging from the basic RB20E straight 6 to the RB20DET turbo, which made about 210 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. On paper, nothing wild. But with rear-wheel drive, a manual transmission, and Nissan's advanced suspension setup, it had real bite. 0 to 60 landed in the low 7-second range, faster than anyone expected from a business sedan. What really cemented its legacy, though, was potential. Enthusiasts quickly learned the A31's chassis could handle much bigger RB engines, including the RB25DET and even the RB26DETT from the Skyline GTR. Suddenly, this quiet commuter could morph into a 400 horsepower drift monster, a street slayer wrapped in sedan clothing. At over 3,000 pounds, it was heavier than most coupes, and its interior leaned toward comfort, not sport. But that was the disguise. To the untrained eye, it was just another commuter car. To those who knew, it was a legend waiting to be unleashed. Respectable, restrained, yet secretly rebellious, the Cefiro A31 proved you should never judge a car by its badge. And if Nissan's family man turned hooligan, Toyota's next coupe shows how a humble Corolla bloodline evolved into a high-revving assassin, the Levin and Trueno AE111. Number 6, Toyota Levin Trueno. AE111, not AE86. Everyone knows the AE86. Anime made it a legend. Drifting made it immortal. But while the spotlight stayed on tofu deliveries and mountain passes, another Corolla-based coupe quietly carried the torch into the 90s. Sharper, lighter, and begging to be taken seriously. The Toyota Levin and Trueno AE111, built from 1995 to 2000, were the final evolution of the front-wheel drive Corolla coupes. Under the hood sat the 4AGE blacktop 20-valve engine, a 1.6-liter 4-cylinder with individual throttle bodies that gave it a distinct, urgent snarl. It produced 160 horsepower and 120 pound-feet of torque, modest on paper, but at just over 2,300 pounds, it could sprint to 60 in about 7.5 seconds. Cross 5,000 RPM, and the car came alive, pulling far harder than anyone expected from just another Corolla. Where it truly shined was handling. Lightweight, razor-sharp, and perfectly balanced for a front driver, it carved corners with precision usually reserved for rear-wheel drive sports cars. And because it never had the pop culture fame of the AE86, it remained a hidden gem, cheap, overlooked, and underestimated. Being naturally aspirated meant it lacked the torque punch of turbo rivals, and its front-wheel drive layout turned away drifting purists. But on tight back roads, agility mattered more than brute force, and here, the AE111 was devastating. An unsung hero of the 90s, the AE111 proved Toyota didn't need hype to build a real driver's car. And if Levin and Trueno were scalpels, the next entry was a sledgehammer wrapped in velvet, the Mazda Eunos Cosmo. If you're loving these monstrous JDM Coupes, hit that subscribe button. Number 5, Mazda Eunos Cosmo JC. When people think of Japanese performance, they picture stripped-down sports cars and high-revving screamers. The Mazda Eunos Cosmo JC mocked that idea. On the surface, it was a plush luxury coupe. Leather seats, wood trim, digital displays, and enough gadgets to embarrass a Mercedes. But under that calm exterior lurked one of Mazda's boldest creations, the only production 3-rotor rotary engine ever sold. The 20 BREW was a 2.0-liter, twin-turbo, triple-rotor rotary, making 280 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque, numbers capped by Japan's gentleman's agreement. In reality, it had untapped potential, with tuners easily pushing it past 400 horsepower. It wasn't built to chase RX-7s on mountain passes. It was a grand tour with warp drive performance. The tech was just as wild. Years before anyone else, the Cosmo offered factory GPS navigation, a touchscreen climate system, and digital wizardry far beyond its time. It felt less like a sports car and more like a spaceship for the road. But there were trade-offs. The Cosmo was expensive, thirsty, and heavy at nearly 3,500 pounds. That weight dulled its edge, and the rotary demanded meticulous care. Many wrote it off as just another 90s luxury coupe. Big mistake. In the right hands, the Cosmo became a straight-line missile wrapped in leather and refinement. Rare, advanced, and misunderstood, it proved the wildest ideas don't always wear racing stripes. So what do you think? Was the Eunos Cosmo a futuristic masterpiece or just a rotary experiment gone too far? Drop a comment and let me know. And while Mazda reached for the stars, Subaru was building its own futuristic spaceship, the radical, often misunderstood Alcyone SVX. Number 4, Subaru Alcyone SVX. At first glance, this one looked more like a science fiction prop than a street car. The Subaru Alcyone SVX didn't resemble the boxy Subarus of the 80s. Styled by Giorgetto Giugiaro, the designer behind some of history's greatest supercars, it carried flowing body lines and bizarre, aircraft-style half windows that made it look like a concept car that slipped into production. Stylish? Absolutely. But fast? That's where things got interesting. Under the hood sat Subaru's boldest gamble, the 3.3-liter EG33 Flat 6. With 231 horsepower and 228 pound-feet of torque, it wasn't headline-grabbing today, but in the early 90s it was formidable. Paired with Subaru's full-time all-wheel drive, the SVX could hit 60 miles per hour in the mid-6-second range, fast enough to embarrass plenty of rear-wheel drive rivals. Built less for racetracks and more for high-speed touring, it could cruise comfortably at 140 miles per hour while making the driver feel like they were piloting a jet. But futurism came with some problems. At 3,600 pounds, it was heavy. Worse, it came only with a fragile 4-speed automatic that dulled performance and became a maintenance nightmare. Subaru loyalists thought it was too fancy, while enthusiasts found it too soft. Sales flopped, and most remembered the car for its odd windows rather than its speed. Yet underestimate it and you'd regret it. On a wet back road, the SVX's grip and flat 6 roar could humble cars with twice the reputation. Weird? Yes, but hidden within that weirdness was a monster. And while Subaru's spaceship coupe was quietly menacing, Mazda's next entry brought rotary-powered lunacy, the 200SX. Number 3. Nissan 200SX S13 S14 non-Silvia trims. Blink and you'd mistake this one for a commuter coupe, the kind a cautious first-time buyer might grab in the early 90s. No spoilers, no flared arches, no fast and furious energy. Just clean lines and an economy badge. Yet under that tame disguise sat one of Nissan's greatest gifts to tuners, the 200SX, sibling to the Silvia. Outside Japan, the 200SX shared DNA with the S13 and S14 Silvias, including the legendary SR20 DET, a 2.0-liter Turbo 4 making 200 to 220 horsepower and around 200 pound-feet of torque. With rear-wheel drive and a lightweight chassis, it hits 60 miles per hour in about 6.5 seconds, quick enough to embarrass respectable European coupes. But it wasn't just about straight-line speed. Its balance made it a natural drifter, laying the groundwork for a global drift culture. Of course, not every 200SX was a rocket. Many early trims came with weak, non-turbo engines, and plenty were daily driven into the ground. Interiors rattled, rust chewed through bodywork, and finding an unmodified survivor today is nearly impossible. Still, tuners loved them. A bigger turbo, a few mods, and suddenly the slow 200SX was running with supercars. That's what made it dangerous. Bland on paper, lethal on asphalt, a true sleeper. And just when Nissan proved subtlety could hide savagery, Honda fired back with its own deceptive coupe. On the surface, it looked like a grocery getter. Underneath, it was a high-revving storm waiting to be unleashed. At number 2, meet the Integra that showed why not all Type Rs had the monopoly on fun. Number 2, Honda Integra DC2 non-Type R trims. On the surface, it looked like a college kid's runabout. Small, tidy, nothing flashy, maybe even ordinary. But under the badge was some of Honda's finest engineering, even without the legendary Type R nameplate. The non-Type R DC2 Integra may not have had internet fame, but in the right hands it could be every bit the menace its sibling was. Most trims carried the B18B or B18C engines, naturally aspirated 4 cylinders with 140 to 170 horsepower and 120 to 128 pound-feet of torque. Modest numbers, sure, but this was Honda's magic trick. A sharp chassis, lightweight, and the screaming pull of VTEC made it far more thrilling than the spec sheet suggested. Many enthusiasts argue that on a twisty road, a well-driven non-Type R DC2 could keep up with cars boasting twice the power. Of course, it wasn't a true Type R. No hand-built motor, no close-ratio gearbox, and no factory weight savings. Interiors were basic, road noise constant, and on paper it looked like any other economy coupe. But that was the trick. Nobody expected the quiet Integra to leave them staring at its taillights, wondering how a slow Honda just dusted their sports car. It proved the DC2's greatness wasn't confined to the Type R. Sometimes the less celebrated sibling could bite just as hard. And if a humble Honda could surprise you, Nissan's not-quite GTR Skyline was about to show just how dangerous a base trim could really be. At number 1, the R32 GTS-T. Number 1, Nissan Skyline GTS-T R32 Coupe, non-GTR. It didn't have the wide-body menace, racing pedigree stickers, or the Godzilla nickname, and that's exactly what made it dangerous. Parked next to an R32 GTR, the Nissan Skyline GTS-T looked tame, like the sensible cousin at the family reunion. But don't let the lack of flared arches and AWD fool you. This coupe had bite. Its secret was the RB20DET, a 2.0-liter turbocharged inline-6 with 212 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. Paired with rear-wheel drive instead of the GTR's heavier AWD system, the GTS-T was lighter, more playful, and easier to tune. Stock, it could hit 60 miles per hour in about 6.5 seconds, quick for its era. But with a bigger turbo and basic mods, tuners found it could soar past 350 horsepower, turning the base model Skyline into a highway predator. Combine that with the crisp R32 chassis, and you had a car that danced on back roads as easily as it blasted down straights. Still, it wasn't flawless. The RB20DET lacked the torque of its RB26 sibling, and buyers chasing Godzilla light sometimes walked away disappointed. But enthusiasts who understood unlocked a platform that was cheaper, lighter, and in some ways, more fun than the GTR itself. Dismissed by many as not the real deal, the GTS-T became the perfect sleeper, a car that could transform into a monster with just a few tweaks. If these coupes teach one lesson, it's this: never underestimate the quiet ones. So, out of all 12, which one would you bet on in a late-night street run? No badges, no hype, just pure surprise factor. Drop your pick in the comments. I want to see which coupe gets the most love.